Okay, so yesterday we did not quite finish our notes. Okay, on Mansa Musa. We kind of jumped ahead because there was a question regarding his descendants. And so we jumped ahead and we didn't actually talk about what he did for the African people. So if you remember, we talked about his legendary trip. We talked about his legendary trip that he took from, yes, we talked about his gold. We talked about his legendary trip from Mali to Mecca. Okay. Most of the world had no idea what Mali even was. Now everybody knows what Mali is because Mali is gold. And he gave away a lot of his gold out of charity. A lot of it he spent. Okay. So he becomes known pretty much as the richest man in history. Okay? But that's not all he does. He doesn't just give away all of his gold to people, which is really nice of him, but he also does other things as well. Okay? So, in Africa, he is quite a good, successful leader. Okay? He maintains law and order. He has an army that is very powerful and strong and does not get challenged a lot during his reign. In other words, it's a safe place to live, okay? Which is very, very important if you're a citizen, okay? You want to be safe, okay? So he makes it a safe place for people to work, trade, and live, okay? Which is very important to people. All of those aspects. Okay? In addition, he also is very culturally minded. He establishes an Islamic university at Timbuktu. Okay? Timbuktu. It's the most important city in Mali during his reign. Okay? Timbuktu. Okay? People studied medicine, surgery, math, Islamic law, and Arabic. Okay, and this university attracts scholars from all over the world. Okay, people come there to learn. People come there to teach. Okay.
Please interruption. The following club members report to Q3 Art Club, JRTC Club, and band club members to C3.
Did they say art club?
Yes, they did. Are you in art club?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, so this university at Timbuktu becomes a very big deal. Okay. So, does anybody have any questions regarding these accomplishments? The T word is Timbuktu. Yes, Timbuktu. It is a fun word to say. Timbuktu. The city of Timbuktu became very legendary because of Mansa Musa, and it also became a way of saying that something was very far away if it was in Timbuktu. So, Rachel, we're talking about Mansa Musa in Africa. Okay, he made it a very safe place to live. It was a very peaceful time during his reign. You know, people did not challenge him. And he also established a university at Timbuktu, which mostly was medicine and math and science with Arabic law, but had other subjects as well. Okay, and people from all over the world, especially the Islamic world, came to Timbuktu to study. Yep, Timbuktu. You ever see the Aristocats movie? It's a really old Disney movie. That's where the evil butler was trying to send them, was Timbuktu. I'll send you to Timbuktu if it's the last thing I do. Yes. So, is a real place. It's not just something Disney made up. Timbuktu has a lot of buildings like this one, where there's things sticking out of them. I'm not sure why they build them that way. That'd be an interesting thing to look up. Because it's Timbuktu. That's the only reason we need. All right. We have a lot of people out for photos right now, so wait until at least one person comes back and asks me again. Okay. So, does everybody have this down in their notes? Yes. Okay. Timbuktu is a growing city, okay, which is very rare for this time period, because at this time period we had something called the bubonic plague in Europe. So most of the world's major cities were getting wiped out by sickness and death. But Timbuktu actually grows. Okay? People are a lot healthier in Timbuktu than they are in Europe. So, are you guys just going to say Timbuktu every time I say Timbuktu? Okay. So, hey, you're learning something. So, it's all good. So, the population grows to over 100,000 people. By today's standards, that's really only about twice the size of Flagstaff. That's not that big of a city. But for this time period, that is huge. Okay, that is a huge city for the time period. Especially, as it says up there, and as I said before, because most of the big cities in Europe were getting hit by the bubonic plague. Okay, so Europe was not a good place to live. Okay? Timbuktu becomes a major trade center on the Niger River because of its location, which is also another reason why it becomes such a big, major growing city is because of its location. And since it's a major trade center, it also becomes a cultural center, especially for Muslims. 3 of the absolute oldest mosques in West Africa are in Timbuktu. Okay? You guys normally aren't this hyper. You like guzzle a monster at lunch or something?
It was her.
Okay then. Alright. So, Timbuktu becomes so important that Mansa Musa, in addition to building his university there, also builds his home there, or one of his homes. Yeah, but it's a major city. It does have a lot in the same place. You've got mosques, you've got the university, you've got trading, you've got a lot of the army was there. It was, so it just made sense for Mansa Musa to have a residence there, because it was the major city of the empire. Looks like we're about done. Go ahead and change it. Okay, so we covered this yesterday because there was a question about Mansa Musa's descendants. They did fight each other after his reign was over and neglected their duties as the royal family, which led to tribes like the Wolof becoming independent. And eventually, just 65 years after his historic trip to Mecca, they lose Timbuktu. They lost it to a group of nomads. And then, eventually, in 1465, the Songhai Empire rises. It starts out as a small rebellion in the city of Gao, but eventually it becomes the biggest empire in African history. Okay? So that should already be in your notes because we covered that yesterday. So now we get to Sundiata Keita and Mansa Musa are both still remembered for their leadership. So just as a question, we've talked about these two great leaders of the Mali Empire. What made them so successful? Mansa Musa was very generous. Sundiata, I'm not sure about his generosity, but Mansa Musa was very generous. And so when you're generous, people like you. So, for sure. What's something else that made them successful? Timbuktu made them successful. Yeah, that city did have a big impact on Mansa Musa's success. Yeah, they did care about their people. They both did a lot of things to benefit their people. So, for sure. Okay. So, what are some good qualities that a leader should have today? Wisdom. Okay. Why wisdom? Why wisdom? Yeah, makes sense to me. Make good choices. Okay. What do you think, Rachel?
Survive.
Yes, Talia. You've been waiting. Before you go, can you answer that question, though, that Rachel's thinking about? Generous? Okay, thank you. Okay, so she just repeated something that someone else had said that and described in Sundiata Keita and Mansa Musa. Generosity. Okay. So, one thing, guys, one thing that people always say why do you study history? People always say, so you can avoid the mistakes of the past. In Timbuktu, yes. But that's kind of lame, isn't it? It's just like we're studying how to fail in life. That's just, no, okay? Instead of studying people's failures, sometimes it's good to study people's successes. What made somebody successful as a leader, as a person, and then duplicate those successes. So some people say we should study the past so we don't repeat the past. I say we should study the past and repeat some of the stuff because some of the stuff's not all that bad. Okay. So.
You repeat it? Well, you wrote on this here. I did? Yeah.
Sorry, what's going on?
May you please go back to the other side so you can
She repeated the notes? No, she didn't. Okay. Anyway. So, is this where you left?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, we're going back for Danielle because she had to go out for a picture for the yearbook. Yeah, they're doing them a little late this year. They should have, but this is when they're doing them. Okay, so that's all we've done so far.
Okay.
So you're caught up now. Okay, so Okay, so now we're actually to today's lesson. Okay, which is sources from the past. Okay, so we're going to have three primary source documents. Two are found in your textbook, so I hope you brought your textbook. And one is going to be on screen. Okay, and our objective today is that you guys will be able to summarize and analyze primary source documents. Okay, and just as a reminder, what exactly is a primary source document, Alex?
Okay. The primary source document is well, it's just a like a diary or a journal taken from that time period.
Yes. Okay, it can be a diary or journal. It can also be a lot of other things. Okay. Okay. Yes. Don't worry. It's okay. It's okay. Okay. So it's anything that was written or created from that time period. Okay. So a lot of times we use photographs as primary sources, or paintings, really old paintings, or ceramics, artwork. Okay. But these are actual writings that people wrote during this time period that we're studying. Okay? So, what we're going to do is we're going to do the same thing on all three of them. Okay? So, as it says in our objective, you guys are going to summarize them. Okay? And then there's a really analytical question, a thought-provoking question that goes with each of them. So then you guys are going to read that question and you're going to analyze or think about these documents. Any questions? Okay? So go ahead and get out a piece of paper. Okay? You're going to be given the page numbers in the book where these documents are. And then we're going to leave it on the last slide, which is the slide about that has the other document that's not in the book.
Well, we don't have our book.
If you don't have your book, you need to share, or is your book in your locker?
It's just right there.
Just right there. So wait until we have all the page numbers and then run and get your book. Okay? Okay, so
It's in the
is
What
it
does
about
that word mean? It's a place.
It's a place. Back in the day when my mom was growing up, they used the word Timbuktu to mean anything that was really, really far away. Because it's this legendary city in Africa. It was a real city, but some people thought it was just a legend because they'd never gotten to be there. So Timbuktu is a West African city in the former Empire of Mali. Okay. It still exists today too.
So it exists today.
Yes. Timbuktu still stands. Okay. So, first one is on page 378. Yep, 378. So, the next one talks about the Swahili city-states. So, the rich Swahili city-states traded with a lot of different kingdoms. Okay. And the kingdom that this one will particularly talk about is Mogadishu. Okay. And you will find that on 381. 381. Yes, so you need 381 written down. Okay, so Mogadishu is one of the city-states of the Swahili. They traded with other Swahili city-states, and they also traded with the Middle East. Some of the city-states actually traded as far as China. guys are really hyper today. Okay, and this is the last one. Okay, this is a actual description of the city Timbuktu. Okay, Leo Africanus is an exile from Spain from 1492. So this is a little bit outside of the actual time period that we're studying. But I wanted to find a description of Timbuktu from the time period, and this is what came up. So this is after the fall of the Mali Empire. Songhai has already taken over. So it's a little bit outside of what we're studying, but still related. So he is a Muslim who lives in Timbuktu as a scholar, and this is his description of the city. So you guys will just read through how he described the city, and then write a short summary. And then the question is, based on this description, what would it have been like to live in Timbuktu? Yes, some of the words were highlighted by the website because you could click on them and it would give you more explanation about what it meant. But it was really getting annoying when I was trying to navigate the website because everything was popping up like too much. So I'm sorry. That's a good note for me in the future. You guys have a hard time seeing it, so maybe I should have just printed this one out. Okay, yeah, that's a good note for me in the future. Thank you. Okay, so you guys have your assignment. So it's about 1:50 now, and we get out of class. Actually, 12:50. We get out of class at 1:50. Okay, for this one, you read through it, then you write a short summary, then you answer the question, which is based on this description. What would it have been like to live in Timbuktu? Okay, does that answer your question? Okay.
So later, can I get my book?
Yes.
Can I get my book too?
When he comes back.
Let's ask Alex.
Okay.
They're going to.
Now the Swahili people in Timbuktu were actually pretty far apart.
Because the
Exactly.
lockers are far apart. One's there, one's there. Yeah.
Anyway.
Yeah, read that. And then you answer the question on the bottom. And you missed the page number.
Well, hopefully you wrote those down. You can just tell her.
Was only 2 pages?
There's only 2 pages in the book.
Okay. Right there. Alex, look at your book. Do we turn this in today?
The one that's big.
Depends on if we finish it. I think you guys should have plenty of time. We should have about 30 minutes. Okay, so I think that should be enough. If
No,
not,
I'm not.
we'll work on, this is what we'll start on tomorrow. This is not enough.
Well, that changes quickly.
So, if you need to go up to the screen to read it, that's fine.
Okay.
Okay. All right. Stuffs, yes.
How do you say that?
Oh, Africanus.
I thought that said waffles.
Waddles. Yeah. It does look like waffles, but it's waddles. So much reading. I'm having to read three documents. Could I had to read the whole chapter?
Sorry. But we're reading the whole thing.
You wanna read?
No, not that one. The one under
Name.
Timbuktu.
This one? Renata.
Okay. Sounds like a language.
Yeah, so you do a short summary, so I'm talking like a paragraph, maybe two, and then you give a thoughtful answer to the question. So really try to like analyze the question and the document. Yes.
Go first.
Tegasa? Tegasa. Sound like the hyenas on Lion King. Mufasa, Mufasa, Mufasa.
Whoa.
Yeah, they got it.
Okay, well, okay. Timbuktu.
Oh, you got it. You got it?
Ducat is a type of money. So, like, ingots is another measure of money. So, ducats and ducats. Okay, just as a reminder, let's keep electronic devices put away. You should have your textbook. Ron, where's your book? Your locker, go get it. We've got like 20 minutes left, so you can still get a lot of work done. Is it in your locker too?
Yeah, go. Yes. Yes, that is the question. So, do a short summary of this, and then give a thoughtful response to the question. So, which one? So, second paragraph, third paragraph. Oh, made of wild fennel. Yeah. And then you had to do that this question, remember that one point? Oh, the second question? Barbary. Yeah, the Barbary Coast is in North Africa. So like, this was the Barbary Coast up here on the map. And so like they had shipping connections to Europe and to the Middle East. And so they could bring it in on the ships and then transport it the rest of the way on land to Timbuktu. Yeah, Swahili would be way down here. Yeah, like I said, the Swahili coast and the city of Timbuktu are pretty far apart. Just where it says sources from the past. That box has the one to two paragraphs. And then you answer the question that it asks about it. Yes. Okay, I'm coming to Timbuktu.
Okay.
Cowrie. Cowrie shells. Yep. What did you need? I thought someone over here called. Okay. So you read it?
No, yesterday was the 7th. Always remember, if you come up to a word you don't recognize or you have a question about something, please don't hesitate to ask. And you can do it Timbuktu style if you want. Although I'm not sure exactly what that means.
Travel from Swahili.
Once.
It's waffles. It's like covered waffles. It's like waffles.
It does look like waffles.
See? So it'd be like clay covered waffles with something roots. Veg roots. I would have lived in a clay covered waffle. Cheesecake.
Please, do I need to like separate you? While this has been entertaining. Yes. Yeah, there should just be one question. So you do a short summary and then you answer that question thoughtfully. Like you really think about it, analyze it. Yeah, give it some thought. So tomorrow, you guys will definitely need your textbooks again tomorrow. So please bring your book to class. Don't leave it in your locker tomorrow.
When are these due?
How many of you have gone through all three documents? Nobody. How many of you have gotten through two documents? You're still on the second, so some people have started the second document. Okay. Okay. So we'll work on this again tomorrow, and then Friday, which is tomorrow, I have some other book questions to talk about with you guys. So I wanted to end class today talking about some of the documents that you guys read and the answers to the questions you guys came up with. Okay, so the first document was called Sunyata and the Reconstruction of Niani. So what was Niani? Niani was a city. Why was the city important to Sunyata? Yes, it was his home. It was his home. It's his father's kingdom. Why did he have to rebuild it? This goes back a couple days ago in your notes. It's also in the book. Yeah, his family got killed by the Susu. The Susu kingdom came in and basically destroyed Niani. And so once he defeated the Susu and was building his empire, he decides that he's going to rebuild his home. He's going to rebuild Niani. Okay. So, Duran, what was the question that it asked at the very end? Okay. To what extent was Sundiata's support of Islam an issue in shaping his reputation? So, who answered that question? Okay, so you want to go back and answer it? Okay. Okay, fair enough. Did anyone give an answer to that? Nope. Okay. Okay. And being Muslim will help his reputation? Okay. Fair enough. So you guys read the one that was up there. So what did you guys get about Timbuktu other than a bunch of giggles? Waddles. Okay. So we just had a question about what that would look like. So what is a clay covered wattle? Let's look it up online. Covered wattle.
We'll just document that document.
So
do that with tomorrow.
I should have been excited.
If I don't do this, I don't play. You know, I'll go to
Okay, so it's a clay covered wattles and thatch roofs. So right here, you can see the thatch roof, which is usually made out of like plants, and just putting it all together, so that it forms a protection against the rain. And I suppose these are what the wattles are. Did you finish? You got all three? Okay. What are we gonna do? Yeah, and then there was the one on the street. Okay, so you're not quite done. No projects on this one unless you wanted to do it as extra credit.
Cause it's Timbuktu style.
No, that's sophomores. We will be going to the library.
You have to wait for them.
Can you ask that in the form of a question?
No.
Yes.
No, you can't have new pretzels.
Yummy.